Hey there, my dear brothers and sisters in Christ. Kurt Siebel here with you for Parade the Gospel. I know it's been a little bit, but something's on my mind. I want to talk about it, and we'll see if I can get through this without deleting it and being like, nah, I said a bunch of worthless nothing. So before I talk about what I'm doing and what I want to talk about, one quote comes to mind. I don't remember who it was from, and I don't know the exact wording. I'll try my best. It's very short. It's something like, preach the gospel, be forgotten, and die, or something like that. Pretty straight to the point, but I love that quote. I don't have the exact, but that's close enough. So I might circle back to that thought. But anyway, I'm out biking on the Raleigh Trail, heads out to Point Beach. I'm actually taking the way back. Right now it's getting kind of late, getting dark. It's probably 8:35-ish or so. Sun's going down. But I'm not doing any gospel tracking tonight. I do have some in my pocket, but I'm not heading out all the way out to the campsite. And like I said, I'm on my way back right now. I just wanted to get some biking in. So I had some thoughts. And by the way, I do plan on doing some more videos and stuff. It's just I got such a huge backlog of videos that, everything else I do, there can be some more unique stuff or reminder type videos, but pretty much done it all before. But hey, this is my channel and I got some things I want to share from time to time, so I'm going to do that. I am going to do a parade, hopefully on Monday for Memorial Day. Probably going to be in Fond du Lac, either that or De Pere. I'm not really sure which one I want to do yet. I kind of want to do Fond du Lac just for the fact that I know Congressman Glenn Grothman, I think his office is in Fond du Lac, and he might be there for that parade. He was in a parade locally, so I know he does them this past fall in October in Michigan. But I just want to talk to him about some stuff, one of them involving a Christian issue. And Congressman Glenn, he's an awesome guy, from what I can gather anyway. But I want to talk to him about some important stuff that he's actually involved with. And it has to do very much directly with Christianity. For those who follow me on Facebook, I've been posting about some stuff lately. Nobody seems to care about it, but that's kind of just most things I post about that involve Christianity. But anyway, I'll talk about that some other time. It's pretty deep, I think, and pretty pertinent for our day in 2025. And it's not what you would expect. But anyway, so yeah, about that quote, kind of jumping off of that. I have a lot of thoughts about evangelism, and this might be all over the place because I do have a lot of thoughts. I'll try not to go too fast to avoid the wind going on my phone. But on my phone right now, like when I'm filming, it looks a lot brighter than what it actually is. Like if you see it through human eyes, it's getting kind of creepy in here. I'll be okay though. I bike through this in pitch black with just a little dinky light on the front of my bike, but I don't have a light today. It's beautiful back here though. It feels pretty good. It's a cool night, but not too bad. So anyway, random thoughts, and I'll try to tie it together. So one thing, I'll start here. And I've been meaning to make a standalone video about this and going more in depth with it and bring out a bunch of Bible verses and stuff. I wanted to do this video for a long time, but us as Christians, when we share the gospel, especially if we're doing it, I guess you could say in a more covert way, where we're not spending a lot of time talking to an individual where we know we're going to see that person again and again. Like a co-worker, friend, family member, something like that, neighbor. Most of our outreach is probably going to be with people we may never see again. All the work that we put in to evangelizing, all the praying that we do, we don't know. And we're doing it for people we may never meet in real life. We may never know. And it's a lot more deeper than I might be able to convey, I think. But in a way, it's kind of powerful. It's pretty awesome as well. But how God uses just a random stranger when we do these things. But the thing I wanted to get to, though, is that we hand the gospel tract out to somebody at a parade or whatever. We don't know what's going to happen. Chances are that person's going to put it in their pocket and toss it away later. They might read it, and most likely they will. I mean, it's a short enough gospel tract. And don't get me wrong, I do like long gospel tracts. I like a lot of information, but, get real. A lot of people probably aren't going to read a big pamphlet. But nevertheless, they have the gospel. And they will know what it is. And God's, what's the word I'm looking for? It's right there. His sovereignty. He provided that person another opportunity to receive the gospel, and he does get glory no matter what that person does with it. Okay, that's super important to remember and to understand. So I know a lot of times, especially like if you're like me, you might feel deflated a lot. We do these, it's been years and years, and we don't see necessarily a return on investment, to use that lingo. We don't see people getting saved maybe, but that's okay. We have to be comfortable with that fact. And I've talked about this before, I think, on this channel. I know I talked about it elsewhere, but I have to be comfortable with the fact that I might not ever see somebody get saved because of the work I put into evangelism. Might never, I don't know, but we need to be okay with that. The hope is, of course, that people do get saved. We want everybody to get saved. We labor in prayer for people to get saved. But, we pray that people get the gospel. And what happens after that? I mean, I know there's different beliefs out there. If you're kind of getting into Calvinistic belief or otherwise, I'm not going to get into that. But we should all agree, though, that God can still be glorified no matter what. And the ball is not in our court. We can't force salvation. I think we all agree with that, right? So that's really important. But yeah, I think about that quite a bit. I also think too, like I always have in my mind certain individuals that I have known in my life. So for example, lately I'm thinking about somebody used to be a friend of mine. Very important time in my life back in early 2000s to mid 2000s. And the last time I talked to this person was 2006. Actually, a group of friends. I think I talked about them before, actually, but a group of 3 other friends of mine. But one in particular, for some reason, I always have dreams about this person. Even to this day, just a couple of days ago, in fact. And I feel something. Every time I have a dream about this person, I feel something. Because back then, I've been praying for this person a lot. I even prayed to God. God, this is back. I had not so much understanding, but I prayed, God, just take my salvation away and give it to my friend of mine. Give it to my friend instead. I know this person's an atheist now, doesn't believe in you, whatever. But anyway, I tried witnessing to a mutual friend of ours in this group of 4 friends, if you count me. And that ended up being a disaster. Again, I talked about this before. My first real one-to-one witnessing encounter, I lost all 3 of those friends. But the last time I talked to this particular friend, who I was probably the closest to, we talked on the phone, and this person basically hung up on me after saying something that, at the time it hurt a lot because I knew that this friendship was probably ending. And then the person hung up the phone, and that's the last time I ever heard from my friend. That was 2006, maybe mid-2006. But I still dream about this person from now and again. But, I think about that sometimes when I'm out witnessing. I don't know if I'll ever talk to this person again. I mean, I've been debating, this person has a Facebook, hasn't updated their profile picture in like a decade, but probably still active. I don't know. Maybe I should try to add the friend. I don't know. I just get really anxious about it. And the other day I almost did, but I didn't. And I don't know. It's just a weird thing. But I'll start walking from here. Let me go. Yeah, I'll just keep walking. Anyway, when I do evangelism, sometimes I think about this friend or even other people who I may have lost touch with or still care about and don't really talk to that much anymore, but still know them, still care about them, still want them to get the gospel. that in my efforts that maybe I'll be reaching somebody who somebody else is in that same position that they've been praying for so and so, and here's some random person giving a gospel tract to that person in a parade, maybe more than once if you do the parade more than once, or other people do parade evangelism or whatever evangelism. Obviously we do a lot more than that, but it's just what I'm talking about now, or what I do a lot of. So I think about that sometimes. Or maybe like in the perfect world, like just in my mind, I think like, oh, maybe somebody will get saved, and that means more and more people will become evangelists, or wanting, I think everyone should be sharing the gospel in some way. They'll be sharing the gospel with this friend of mine. Maybe somehow they'll reach out to that person or other people. More and more people get saved, or we will encourage other Christians who we give gospel tracts to or evangelize to or whatever, us not knowing if they're Christians or not. See, I always have that hope. But anyway, being the life of the evangelist, at least for me, and when I say evangelist, because, that word can get thrown around a lot, like in Ephesians, it was chapter 4, right? Talks about the evangelist, the prophet, the apostle, teacher, not in this order, and then the evangelist. That's not speaking of just someone who shares the gospel. That speaks of someone who teaches on evangelism. So let's try not to get that mixed up. When I talk about myself, I'm just talking about as just a normal Christian who has a passion and wanting to get the gospel out. So I'm not necessarily putting myself in that position of evangelist where I'm teaching others, even though I try to encourage people on this YouTube channel over the last, it's been like 8 years now. This summer it'll be 8 years since I started this, and most of the videos are put out from 2017 to up until a couple of years ago, and I kind of stopped putting them out as often. But I get pretty lonely, I guess you could say. Haven't been doing much in the past few years, or especially the past couple of years. Haven't been connecting with others who are also doing this. I mean, the people I have been doing a lot of stuff with, we get busy. Our families are growing up and whatever, and obviously we need to be with them and tend to their needs, and work gets in the way, and finances and bills and stuff like that. But I still have that longing in my heart. Man, I want to get out there and share the gospel more with people. And what can I do right now? So like right now, it's just me, basically. Like I don't know, I have all kinds of thoughts on that. Basically, for the most part, just keep to myself. So I'm kind of sharing just the tiniest of sliver of it now. But I try to be of good cheer and know that it's not for nothing. If nobody else, I'm doing it for the Lord. It's not, and that's another thing that we need to know. What we do, to quote, this might sound cringy, I don't know, but I just saw the recent Mission Impossible movie, and I love those movies so much. But it speaks to me on even on the Christian level, in the sense, but we live and die in the shadows, man. And, what we do is always behind the scenes. We're not meant to be out there, and this rubs me the wrong way when people get so big that they're, they present themselves in such a way where they get all the praise, if that makes any sense at all. But, those of us who have boots on the ground, who are actually doing the work, we're not posting videos of ourselves every single day of us preaching. We're not trying to do that thing to get glory from men. We're all behind the scenes to, in a way, I guess, rescue people that we will never meet and we will never know. Again, kind of soft quoting the recent Mission Impossible movie. I just saw it like 2 nights ago. I love those action adventure movies, and this might sound cringy too, but I kind of put myself in the shoes of the hero of any of these. It could be that or other movies that I like, instead of saving the world, we're saving people from eternal hell. Now, of course, it's, God's the one that saves, don't get me wrong, but our Christian lives, to quote another movie, it's like life needs to have its own soundtrack, like action adventure music. I don't know, like there's nothing more action adventure than getting the gospel out. I've been doing this for a long time, most of it by myself, and it's been a blast it's been a lot of fun. It's kind of, we're like living out some of these action sequences or whatever in different movies in a way. I don't know, maybe I'm just sounding weird. Who knows? By the way, I love movie soundtracks, and I wish that life did have its own soundtrack that would start playing at just the right moment. I'm weird, I know. But yeah, but seriously though, we do all this stuff in the shadows, not to be known. It's like that quote that I quoted before from some person. Share the gospel, die and be forgotten, or something like that. That's your purpose in life. Again, I'm kind of softly quoting it, not word for word exactly, but it's a good one. So anyway, I think I wanted to make a video talking about this like 2 nights ago after the movie. I was driving back. I had a lot of thoughts on my mind. So yeah, you can't help but think about stuff like this. If you're truly engaged, wanting people to get saved, wanting to get the gospel out, these are things you think about. And maybe that's just the way that God made me. I like that adventurous lifestyle, and this is adventurous. Like, look, we got some mailboxes right here. One of them has a newspaper box. Like, I'll do a lot of biking, and I'll slip in a gospel tract. That's one way to get the gospel out, is to put gospel tracts in newspaper boxes. That's something I wanted to do over the past couple of days. Just haven't gotten a chance to do it. I'm on vacation, by the way. I go back on Tuesday after Memorial Day. But I got 3 other vacations this year coming up. And obviously other off days I can do stuff. But it's just such an adventurous lifestyle, I think. Even just doing I don't want to say the bare minimum, but just doing what you can do with what God has given you. Like, I love biking, I love athletics, I love working out, I love feeling good. I love a high octane, high energy lifestyle. 100-mile bike ride, oh yeah, bring it. I love it. I can soak in that and, bring some gospel tracts along the way and have 100 miles worth of gospel tracting wherever there's a newspaper box. Check out those videos if you want. But I always repeat, though, don't go in mailboxes, just do newspaper boxes. And there's other ways, too. You can do it by bike, not just the boxes. But if you have like a gospel coin, you can leave them places. You can bike up to little libraries. Remember that one time I made that video about where I biked all over Manitowoc and went up to most of the little libraries that I knew about and stuffed gospel tracts in a lot of the books and stuff. Things like that. But there's been a lot of like adventurous times. The stakes are high, guys. It's not the end of the world type of thing. You're not like some secret agent Ethan Hunt, doing all the cool stunts and whatever to save the world. But the stakes are higher because these are eternal destinies that are at stake. Sometimes I watch like these movies just to get my blood pumping and get fired up before I get the gospel or whatever, or listen to a soundtrack. Kind of like how people listen to music before even during when they work out. I'm a movie soundtrack guy, especially movies that really get me pumped up and encouraged and ready to go, inspired would be a better word for it. Something else I wanted to mention. I just had it in my mind a moment ago. Now I kind of forgot it. I hope it gets there because I don't want to go too long. I'm already at 18 minutes. Let's see. Let's just talk about what's coming up for this year that I know about. I do plan on going to Eau Claire. I'll be doing a lot of biking evangelism over there. I'll be doing lots of biking evangelism, actually, just like roadside evangelism. Oh yeah, I was talking about the stakes before. When the eternal destinies are at stake, like there's nothing bigger than that. And, I have a lot of fear with what's coming. Challenges on all fronts. Like there's just so much. AI, I think, is going to be a pretty big challenge that we don't even understand yet. Who knows what that's going to do, and other issues that affect Christianity in a very, very megalithic way that Glenn Grothman, again, that's why I want to talk to him, just get some thoughts from him on a particular issue that I actually created my 9th YouTube channel talking about it. I'm not going to mention it now because I know it's going to turn a lot of Christians off. Probably. I don't know why. It's crazy. I tried talking about my Facebook page and nobody cares. It's like, how do you not care, even just on the human level, that this stuff is going on? You know, especially in government, what's being openly talked about. It's not, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not cringe anymore. But it's inherently spiritual. Like, there's no denying that. The stigma is being removed. More and more people are talking about it. They're having open sessions in Congress about it, and it's absolutely bonkers insane that Christians aren't talking about it, especially when it delves into consciousness and false gospel and things like that. And anyway, yeah, but that probably gave too much of it away, but most Christians aren't even aware that this stuff is being openly talked about, and bombshells are being dropped almost weekly on this topic. But anyway, I digress. So back to the adventure part. You know, you don't have to be super able-bodied to be an adventurous Christian wanting to get the gospel out. There are so many things that you can do. You don't have to even have a bike. I mean, just think outside the box. So let me tell this story here. About a month ago, maybe almost 2 months now, I don't know, but I was at a store. This is pertaining to what my last video was about, I believe. Me and my daughter were shopping at a store, and we got approached by 2 Mormons. So we started talking, and I kind of prefer that we just talk at different times, so I gave them my phone number, because I was like super nervous. And that's one thing that I have learned. Like, I have the most anxiety and public speaking problems and just all kinds of issues, right? Like, if anyone if there's an excuse, if anyone could provide an excuse, a Christian can provide an excuse to not share the gospel, it would be me. That's what I've kind of always said. I mean, I'm sure you can, you know, say others as well. Maybe have like other disabilities of sorts, but like for me though, when it comes to like anxiety, like I'm like up there, top notch. You know, just going back to my childhood, I think I've shared a lot of that before. But yeah, so, but here I am, like lonely me, barely a partner in the faith, going out like we used to, because people are just busy and stuff, understandable. But I'm still, I still got that adventurous spirit within me, like I don't know how to say it. Like, you know how people, they love roller coasters or jumping out of airplanes or whatever. You know, in a way, it's kind of like me, but I know, I recognize and acknowledge I still have weaknesses, even when I confront these people. So anyway, we were talking back and forth with the Mormons, or I was, and eventually, okay, we're going to meet up somewhere. All right. So at first it started to look like we were going to meet up at a park, and then McDonald's. And then at the last minute, they're like, oh, how about we just meet up at the Mormon church in Manitowoc? Okay. And then inside, I'm like, ooh, this is getting good, you know, into the lion's den. Like, it's going to be me against 3 Mormons. Bring it on. And I was like kind of pumped, but super afraid at the same time, but still pumped. And I'm like, I think it's Chloe, my daughter, was saying like, oh, aren't you nervous or afraid? Or I think my wife too said that. And I'm like, no. I just bring them. I don't care if it's me and in front of the entire church. But I also acknowledge that I'm not going to be at my top game. You know, I'm not great as an apologetic person or anything like that. I'm really not. My best work is when I am at home, maybe behind a computer. I admit this. You know, most people probably are too. When I can actually think and digest. Like, I'm really bad talking one-to-one a lot of times. You know, they might say something, like it could be an atheist, whatever, just some objection. Like, if I'm by myself thinking about it, like, I have the perfect response. I can think of the most perfect thing to say. And in my mind, anyway, I'm like, ooh, this is really good. But in person, I shrink back, but, you know, at least I'm still there. And I try to encourage myself with that. And I try to encourage any of you guys out there as well. At least you're still there. So I went there, and of course it was 3 against 1, I go inside the church, and here I am. And I want to say it too, like back in 2010, I did something similar by going to a Jehovah's Witness church, just me by myself. Probably the only guy that went there who was a non-Jehovah's Witness. It was like one of those Easter services they always invite people to come to. My intention was to witness to the Jehovah's Witnesses. But anyway, I'll tell that story another time. I probably already did somewhere on this channel. But so, yeah, we talk for actually a really long time. They say that these conversations only go for like a half hour. And they mentioned that before we met. And this one was like an hour and a half or more. So I just wanted to be kind of low-key, nonchalant. Just want to learn more about them, let them know that I care about them, and I'm not there to, like, you know, be argumentative or anything like that. I did kind of make clear, you know, where I was coming from and stuff. I probably could have gone a little bit harder on that, but I just wanted to get to know them and get to know what they believe, even though I already know a lot of it. But I was kind of hiding a little bit of that from them. So anyway, back to the adventurous part. I mean, that is in of itself adventurous. But anyway, so and you can see God's hand working in a lot of stuff when you're, I mean, there's so many, I have like so many stories even popping up in my head right now I can share how, like, you know, God's hand is in something. Like, there is no way, and this is the biggest coincidence in the entire planet, if, you know, God's hand was not in this thing. There's just certain stories like that come up, but, you know, again, bringing it back to that adventurous side of things when it comes to getting the gospel. But back to the Mormonism. So, like, I had this crazy idea of, like, and this goes to a bigger thing that I could talk about. I think I shared, maybe I shared on Facebook. I don't remember. I know I wanted to. Like, I had this thought in my mind, like, we have the different cults and stuff in our city. They're out there, no Holy Spirit, a false gospel, and yet they are passionately doing the stuff. And I've made this complaint for, you know, all my Christian life, pretty much. Us Christians sit in our churches and we're not doing anything, you know, as if we don't even believe what we preach. But they are definitely doing this stuff. But anyway, that's a whole big thing. But we have so many people taken captive by a false gospel, enslaved and snared by it, in our own towns, our own neighbors. And I just feel like, wait, what are we doing about that? Like, wouldn't we want to actively engage them? I kind of think about, was it the book of Joshua in the Bible? Where Israel goes in, you know, but like region by region, and they drive out all the different people groups that, you know, don't belong there. They basically take over Israel or reclaim it, whatever. It's kind of like, you know, we need to set up shop as Christians, you know, take ground for Christ. And we have so many demonic things in our individual cities or whatever, and so much that we can do. There's so much stuff that we can do, but we're not engaging them. I mean, again, parking lots are full at these false churches, whether it's Jehovah's Witnesses, Mormons, or whatever. There's a false gospel there. What are we doing about it? And it just seems like we've just become so complacent about it. You know, these false temples of worship are just set up, and we just like, whatever. Come on, guys, we can do better than that. And I had this whole big thing I could say about it. It sounded a lot better than I'm making it sound like right now. But so my thought is, well, how about, like, I don't even care. I'm going to go to them directly, because we are going to meet some more. Okay, guys, and I did this with the Roman Catholicism some years ago. I think I posted some of those videos in my Pursuing 222 channel. But, like, we need to be real. Like, you guys have a different gospel. We have something that's entirely different. We need to be real about that. Let's settle this once and for all. And we need to go after them hard. Like, let's not stop. Let's not settle down. And of course, you know, if they're going to remain hardened in heart, that's what's going to happen. But it's like, we have that as men, especially, that drive to go to war. You know, what is it with, and this, bring it back to movies, like, what is it about these great action adventure movies or movie scenes that brings a tear to our eye? Like, I think about one of my favorite movies, Lord of the Rings, Return of the King, you know, and Rohan rides out to meet the enemy at Gondor, at Minas Tirith. Like, that scene has like how many tens of millions of views, and everyone loves it. or others, whatever. What is it about that in our hearts? When it comes to Christianity, it's like we act like this thing is not even real, and yet they're real. This is more real than those movies. There are real spiritual battles. There are real stakes, more bigger, more larger than, just death, just somebody dying. But these are eternal stakes. This is huge. I need to back up because I think about this too. Like, okay, this is a little bit off topic, but still related to the thing I said before. So in one of the Mission Impossible movies, what's it called? Ghost Protocol, right? So at the end of the movie, you've probably seen it at the end. So he can't be with his wife because of his, what he is, secret spy, whatever. But, he's in the shadows, and him and his team just saved, in the nick of time, that city from being vaporized by a nuclear missile, and ultimately much of the world, because it was, the fallout from that. But just the way that he's in the shadows in the background, they have a moment when they smile at each other, and he kind of disappears off into his next mission. It's kind of like us, not in the, sense that we can't be with our wives. That's not what I'm getting at, don't get me wrong. But just that, if for just but a moment, the lost world can look at us and smile and be like, yes, I know you're out for me. You're trying to save us or whatever. You know what I mean, right? You probably follow. I just can't put it into words. And we go out there, we're encouraged once again, and we got our next mission to do. We're not done. And that's really laid on heavy, I think, in this recent movie. But I digress. What was I talking about? Mormonism thing. Like, I am willing to challenge them. Like, okay, guys, I don't care. Just me, a nobody, against all of you guys. Have me come on the Sunday morning. Let's do this. Let's settle it. I'll roll up my sleeves and let's go to war. And I'll say that in the playful way, of course, but still in a serious way. But still in the playful way. Be fun, Don't make it like such a hardcore, like we're both like angry at each other, shouting at each other. Still understand the stakes, but still build those bridges where we can have conversations. But we need to start laying on the seriousness of the matter. And I'm talking to them as well. Just as I talked to about Roman Catholicism back in the day. What was this, like 5, 6, 7 years ago? And I made this one video in particular on Facebook. I shared it on my Pursuit 222 YouTube channel. And I talked about it for, a bunch of posts and stuff on Facebook. But we believe something different. On the essentials, you can't get away from it. We need to just settle it. Let's have a thing where all the stakes, everything is laid out on the table. We're not walking away from this thing until one of us is destroyed. And then, obviously you know what I mean by when I say destroyed. I'm not talking about any violence here. But kind of like we need to challenge them. There's different instances in the Bible I'm thinking about. Whether it was Elijah and the false prophets, or David and Goliath, and everyone gets David and Goliath wrong. Like, oh, it's just Goliath is your problems in life, and you're the small little guy. But if you just trust in God, it's not entirely really about that. But these guys are defaming the name of our God. Presenting a false Christ, talking about Mormons and other groups, but specifically right now Mormons, it's a different Jesus, different gospel. Or just like the issue I was kind of hinting at before that I made my 9th YouTube channel about different Jesus, yes, different gospel. And it's definitely a spiritual issue, and it's definitely going to affect Christians, I think, in the near future. And when I present that stuff because I care on Facebook, and everyone's like, oh, well, whatever, the stigma's still there, oh, that's just weird, even though your congressman that you voted for is directly involved in it. We praise up Trump and all that stuff, and yet these guys are directly involved with the biggest thing that's going to come down, and it ain't what you think. And we're not talking about it, so when this stuff gets even more out there, we're just going to be scrambling on Sunday because now we don't know what to talk about because we never talked about just the most basic things on spirituality or demonology or whatever, and how Christ trumps over all of that. But the gospel, Christ trumps over all this demonic activity, false gospels, false Christs, And we are ambassadors of Christ. This is our job. We need to be active in going after these things. Take down these strongholds. These are spiritual issues. And we need to engage, I think. So anyway, that's just like all the adventure stuff. I mean, come on. Again, like we are, especially men, and I'm not saying that women can't do this either, but men, like this is like God has put in us, right? I mean, this is why we watch our favorite movies or whatever. We get excited about this stuff. We put ourselves in the shoes of the protagonist or whatever. Like that can be us. And again, I'm not trying to cross that line where it's about us, okay? And we pat ourselves on the back and want to be seen. That's not the thing. That's why I like the Mission Impossible movies, because we aren't seen. We are in the shadows. We live and die in the shadows and that whole thing. Oh man, I just love that. As I kind of think about it in my Christian life here. But yeah, we need to get the gospel out, guys. We need to do what we can. And yeah, I mean, what else is there to say? How long? 35 minutes. Oh boy. Thanks for entertaining me for this whole time here. There's probably a lot more that I wanted to say. But yeah, keep me in prayer with this whole Mormon thing. I didn't really want to talk about, and that's the thing too, like when I went to speak to them inside the lion's den, I didn't even think, well, I thought about it. I thought about how I wasn't going to tell anyone about it, except for a couple close friends, obviously my wife, and maybe like one or two other friends. But I'm like, nah, I'm not even gonna make a post about it on Facebook. Like, I mean, first of all, I don't think anyone cares. I shouldn't think that way. I really shouldn't think that way, but I do. Unfortunately, that's just something I need to work on, I think. No one's gonna pray for me. Who's gonna care that I'm doing this? Like, I've asked for prayer going out to like the bar area in Appleton, till 2 a.m, talking to drunks that probably just want to kill me, and they're drunk, they hate the gospel already. People do get stabbed out there, and nobody cared that we went out there back then, me and my friends. I don't think they're going to care about this. Certainly don't care about a lot of the other spiritual issues I post about. So maybe it could be an algorithm thing too, but not all of it. But anyway, I shouldn't think that way, but I struggle with that. But we need to work together as a team, though. And that is true. We do need to work together. It doesn't have to be a big group or anything. I mean, just guys, think about this. I've accomplished so much with my friends. And when I say I should have, right when I said that, I'm like, okay, what I mean is like them too. Like they could say the same thing. I have accomplished so much with my friends and so on. And of course, it's all for the glory of God. He gets the glory. But you can do so much. And that's why I made this channel. Because I know, first of all, I know the power of encouragement. Once you go do like the small ways to get the gospel, like parades, that's why it's called Parade the Gospel, because I put the most emphasis on that, even though there's so many other ways I've shared. But like, you can do that by yourself, and you will be encouraged. If you've never done anything like that before and you're super scared like me, you're going to be like, oh, wow, that was easy. Now, remember how I mentioned Fond du Lac before, and that's the parade I might do on Memorial Day. That was the first parade I did, was in Fond du Lac. And that was 2013. And once I came away from that, I'm like buzzing and wanting to do backflips, because like, wow, I thought it was hard to share the gospel, but now I just realized, I can get a couple hundred gospel tracts out in like 30 minutes. And man, I just went up from there. And that's how I've done so many parades and other things since then. And so many of them, I just do it myself. Like, I mean, that time was organized by other people, but like, I can just go up to any parade and be like, okay, I'm still nervous. I've done over 50 parades and I'm still nervous to just jump right in there and do it, but I'll still do it. And that's another thing too. Like, you can't be afraid of fear. When I was going to the Mormon thing, like, I knew I wasn't going to be at my best, but I still went. And I know I'm probably not going to be at my best next time I meet up with them. That's why I might actually write up just a short paper telling them some things. I did have some thoughts that came about from that first meeting. Some first reflections or first thoughts or whatever, some takeaways. And it could really get into the gospel message from there. I had some ideas anyway. But I know my weaknesses, but I can't let that stop me. Guys, the stakes are too big. And you got to think about it like that. Like, these are the bad guys, not the people necessarily, but they're being held hostage by spiritual dark forces. Those are the bad guys. And, we need to fight them. We can't be afraid, guys. Equip yourselves like men, as the Bible would say, I think, in Ephesians. Or is it 1 Corinthians, I think, or 2 Corinthians, one of those. Just be a man. I'm not the most manly character. I got a lot of fear issues, but hey, Jesus will always be with you, as he says in the end of Matthew. And that's in the context of getting the gospel out. Okay, guys, let's encourage one another. And again, that's why my YouTube channel exists. I've been thinking about sending out some more letters. Like, when I first made this YouTube channel, there's a whole story behind that, but one of the things is that I just wanted to have some videos about parade evangelism and send out some letters to random churches across the country, in which we did. Gave them the information how to get to the YouTube thing, so they can have video evidence of how easy this is. Because I just thought, wow, we can saturate the gospel in entire cities in just one parade. How can you? That's adventurous, first of all. I mean, guys, I can't tell you how many adventures, like how things work out. You can hear the Mission Impossible music in the background or whatever, adventurous music, as like how things just work out at the last second sometimes. It's really fun. It's crazy, but it's fun. It's adventurous. That's the lifestyle I want to live. What about you? But stakes are high, though. Remember that. It's not just fun and games. Stakes are real. Anyway, I can keep on going. I'm somewhat almost home right now. Just walking over the bridge here into Rivers. It's probably like 9 o'clock. I see my wife sent me a message. I'm afraid to click on the thing because it might shut the video camera off. I've been talking for a long time. Yeah, thanks for entertaining me, I guess, if you made it this far, for listening to me blab for a long time. Sorry for the lackluster number of videos, but I'll try to get some video footage of the parade on Monday. Yeah, just again, to encourage you guys who may not have done the parade before, encourage your churches to do that. But again, you can saturate the entire cities, plural, with the gospel message during parades. Anyway, I got some people coming up. I'm going to hang up here. So God bless you guys, and let me know in the comments if there's anything I can do to help serve you and encourage you with anything. God bless.